Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we will be talking about Python data type. So why that is important? So data type and Python, they are the building blocks of the language. It's like a plumber. A plumber has different tools for different job. So it's the same for us as a Python programmer. So the data type are different tools that we have in our disposal to in order to accomplish different job. For example, you will have to decide which data type is more appropriate to accomplish this task or this task. So this is very important so we know how to work with all the different data type that are available in Python and to know how and when to use them. Okay, let's start by talking about variable. So what is a variable? In Python, a variable is a container that we store our code so we can use it later. Let's say I have a variable called y equal 10, and another variable called x equal 20. So now I have two variables. So I can use them. For example, I can say add equal y plus x. And if I want to print, add, so now it's easy. And if I run the code, so you can see right there I have 30 because 10 plus 20 equal 30. So now you see, so since now I have my data stored in a variable, so I can use them over and over in my program without any problem. Okay, so how do you declare a variable in Python? So Python is not a strong type language, meaning that you don't have to declare the type of your variable when you create them. Okay, so the type of the variable will be decided at runtime. There are a few things you need to keep in mind when you're creating a variable in Python. Okay, the first one, so when you declare a variable, you cannot use a reserved word in Python. So a reserved word is a list of words that they are they have different meaning or specific meaning in the language. So for this reason, you cannot use those reserved words to declare your variable. If you do that, Python is going to complain. So let's see a list of reserved words in Python. Here a list of reserved words, so you cannot use those words to declare your variable. For example, wave, yell, break, class, except, asset, from, and for. Those are reserved words. You cannot use them in your program to declare variable. If you do that, Python is going. The second thing to keep in mind, so your variable could be like, your variable name could be like a single character, like y, just as we just did. So y equal 20. So b equal 52, k equal 12. Okay, so your variable name could be like a single word. For example, name equal whatever you want the name to be. Okay, for example, name equal James. Okay, so your variable could be like a single name, a single character, or a single word. Or also you can use like multiple words or several words and you just separate them with an underscore. For example, you can have username equal max. Okay, so as you can see, I use two words in here. So you can use as many words as you want. Okay, first name equal Bob. Okay, but you need to keep in mind, even though in Python you can name your variable whatever you want, but you need to keep your variable name meaningful. So what does that mean? For example, if you write your program, there's a good chance somebody else will have to read your code, or maybe later after 1 month or 1 week you come back and read your code. So if you just pick random name, even you will forget what is this name is about. For example, somebody might don't know what your variable is about. So that's why it is important when you are choosing a variable name, so you choose a meaningful name. For example, so name James, username Max. So automatically you see that you know what this variable is about. Okay, for example, if I take out all of this, and you have those variable y, b, and k. So who knows what those names refer to? Okay, so they are not good practice. So it is important that when you choose your variable name, you pick meaningful name relevant to your program and what you are building. So that's make it easier for you later to know what your variable mean, and other people that will read your code, they will know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so now we learn about variable. Let's see what is a data type and all the data type available in Python. But just before we do that, I'm going to show you how you can run your code. Okay, so let me write something very quick here. Print hello world. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 ways you can run your code. So since I'm using PyCharm, which is a text editor, you can use whatever text editor that you want. But so the first option you have, you can see right here, this green arrow, you can click on it. Okay, so if you go down there, automatically your program is run and printed out. So this is the first way you can run your program. So you can just click on the green arrow right here and your program is run. The second way you can run your program is, so if you go down there, you will see terminal and you click on terminal. So you have the terminal prompt right here. So first of all, you need to make sure that you are in the folder or the directory that your program is. Okay, so make sure you are in the current folder or the current working directory. To check your working directory, you can type pwd. So as you can see, I am in the directory called data type, so which is right here. That's where I'm working. Okay, so I am in the current working directory. Okay, so to run your program, just type Python 3 if you are using a Mac, or just Python if you are using Windows. Okay, Python 3, the name of the file, in my case it is data type .py. Okay, so press enter. So automatically you see hello world is printed in the terminal. Okay, so what you just did, it is you tell Python, go to that directory, take that file and run whatever code inside of it. Okay, so this is the second way you can run your code. Okay, So the third way you can run your code, sometimes when you are building a program, sometimes you want to test your code before you add them in your program. So it is a good idea you can open Python and test your code. So when you sure everything is working the way you want, and you go ahead, you put it in your program. So you can use the Python shell to test your code and to run Python code. So to use the Python shell, so just type in your console or terminal, just type Python 3 and enter. And now you can see, when you see the 3 error facing, so now this is the Python shell. So you can run your Python code. But keep in mind that if you close the shell, everything you type or your variable or anything will be gone. So for example, if I create a variable called name, say call name equal Bob. Okay, so now, oops, I forget to close the other code. Okay, so if I have a variable called name equal Bob, okay, so now if I want to print this variable, I don't have to type print this variable. I can just type the variable name. For example, in my case, I can just say name. Okay, automatically you see Bob is printed on the terminal. Okay, so that was the third way you can use to run your Python code. If you want to create the Python shell, all you have to do is type create parentheses and enter. So now you go back in your regular shell and the Python shell is gone. Okay, let me clean that. So now let's see the different data type available in Python. You can see the type, and the other column you see the Python representation. So on Python, text stand for string, and the representation is str. For numeric, you have integer and float. And for collections, you have list, tuple, and set. For Boolean, so you have bool, and binary, you have byte. For map or mapping, you have dic for dictionary. So we will go in depth for each one of them. So we will learn how to create them, how to work with them. So what are the methods available for each one of them? So we will cover all of them one by one, because there are a lot to learn in each one of them, because it's very important. So you get the foundation understanding of each data types that will help you to comfortable in Python and create more advanced program in Python. So let's go over and see an example for each one of them. For that, we will be using the Python shell. As you remember how to access the Python shell, you type Python 3 if you're on a Mac, or Python if you're on a Windows, to access the shell. Okay, so now when you see the error, the 3 facing error, so you know that you are on the Python shell. Okay, the first one is text or string. In Python, string meaning working with text. How to create a string in Python? It's very simple. You have the string name. So let's say I'm create name. The variable name equal. You can go single quote or double quote. It doesn't matter. Python doesn't care. It's depend of your preferences. So if you want to use single quote, you can. If you want to use double quote, you can. In this case, I'm going to use single quote. Okay, name equal, and you type your string. When you're done, you just close it with another single quote. So it is very important. If you use single quote, you have to be consistent. So if you use single quote and the entry, you have to use single quote and the closing. You cannot use like double quote and single quote. Okay, use double quote or single quote. Okay, so now our string variable is created. If you want to print it out, you just type the variable name. So name, you can see James is printed out. So now if you want to verify the type of name, all you have to do is type parentheses and you put the name. As you can see, name now is part of the class of string. Don't worry if you don't know what this class is about, so we will learn about class later. Okay, so now just know that string, for now just know that name is part of the string class. Okay, so you can create any string you want. So it could be very short, it could be long as you put it inside the single quote or the double quote. So okay, if you want to create a very long string, for example, let's say long string equal, let's use double quote for this time. Let's say I love Python because this is the best thing ever. I don't know, anything like this. Okay, so now you can see if you want to print it out, just type the variable name, long string. Oops, I make a mistake here. All right, long string, and voila, so you have your string is printed out. Okay, for example, if you say let's create another variable, so let's call it num. Okay, let's put 56 on it. Okay, so if you print it out, num, so you have 56. Okay, so let's check the type of num. We just put a number and they said it's part of the class of string. So what you have to remember, anything you put inside of the single quote or the double quote is evaluated as a string. It doesn't matter if it's a number or whatever, it's a text, but everything you put inside of it, Python sees it as a text, as string. So that's why sometimes if you want to do some mathematical operation, so you will have to convert that in an integer in order to work with it. Okay, now we are going to see some example for numbers. So the first type we will see is integer. Integer is any numbers without a decimal point. Okay, so for example, we have age equal 25. So we have to make sure it's on the first line. Okay, because indentation means something different in Python, so it's very important. Y equal 10 and X equal 52. So now we have three variables. We can do any kind of operation with them now. So let's say add equal Y plus X plus, okay, Y plus X. Okay, or we say multiply equal Y times X. So now if you want to print them, print add and print multiply. Okay, you can just run the program. Now you can see we have your result printed in the terminal. Okay, so the second type we will see is a float. Okay, so let me get rid of all of this. A float is a number with a decimal point. Okay, so integer is without decimal point, and float is a number with a decimal point. Okay, for example, num equal 5.6, just like that. Or pi equal 3 times that 14. Okay, or p equal or p equal 3.14. Okay, so if you check the type, let's print type of num type of p. Okay, let's run it to check. You see, num and pi, they are part of the class of float. Okay, now let's see what is a list in Python. Okay, so now we will go over some of the collection type. The first one we will see is a list. A list is a data type in Python that is able to hold any type of data. For example, if you create a string, you are able to store string. So if you create like a number, you're able to store a number. But a list, you can store any type of data. For example, you can store string, you can store numbers, you can store other lists, you can store dictionary, you can store tuple, any other type, you can store them in a list. So a list is just a collection of data or a collection of other data. Okay, so let's go and create our first list. Okay, so we call it new list. So to create a list or empty list, just the list name equal and a pair of square bracket. Okay, so this is perfect. If we try to point the type of new list, okay, run it. So you can see if new list is part of the class of list. Okay, so but inside of the square bracket, you can store any data type you want. Okay, you can store numbers, but each one of them should be separated by a comma. Okay, you can store string, hello. You can store other lists. Yeah, you can store other lists just like that. Okay, just like that. Okay, so let's create another list. Okay, let's just create another list. So we are create an empty list. So when you have a list, you can add data to the list as you go. As you have more data, you can keep adding them. So how do you do this? Okay, you can use a list method called append, and you can add the data you want. Okay, let's say list append 5. let's put another one, another list that append 6. Let's put another one, another list append 58. So now if we print another list, you will see we get the list back with all the data we just added into it. Okay, so this is how you add data to a list. Okay, so don't worry, we just get introduced to them. So there's a lot of to learn about lists and all those data type. There's a lot of to learn to know how to work with them. So don't worry, we'll be cover everything. Okay, now we will see an example for tuple. A tuple in Python, it's an unmutable data type, meaning that if you create a tuple with a set of data, so when after the tuple is created, you cannot modify it. So meaning you cannot add other data to it. So it is not like the list. So you can keep adding data to the list and the list can get bigger and bigger and bigger. No, and tuple is unmutable. You cannot add data when you create a tuple. Okay, so to create a tuple, so all you need is the tuple name. So just call it tuple. So we're talking about it. Equal and parentheses. Okay, so for the list we use the square bracket. Okay, so now we have to add some data on our tuple. Okay, so now if we check the type, tuple. Okay, we run the code. So as you can see, it's a tuple. Okay, so the next example we will see is a set. It's a set. So a set is another collection data type, but what makes set special or different than the other? In set, you cannot have duplicate data. Okay, for example, in a list you can have a lot of data, but you can have the same one repeated multiple times. But in the set, the data should be unique. So a set is not allow you to store duplicate data. Okay, so how to create a set? Okay, so let's create new set equal. So you have to use the keyword set plus a pair of parentheses. Remember, as I said, we have to use underscore for the variable name. All right, so now this is good. So now you can see if we try to print the type of new set. Okay, let's get rid of this. So now let's run it. So you can see now we have created a new set of class of set. Okay, so remember, a set does not allow to store duplicate data. So now let's see dictionary. Dictionary is a mapping collection data type. Okay, so in dictionary, it's allow you to store key value pair. So in order to store data in a dictionary, you need a key and you need the value. Okay, so let's start create a new dictionary. So we're gonna call it, you guess it, new dictionary equal. So you need to use curly braces. Okay, remember, in the set we use square bracket. For the tuple we use parentheses. But for dictionary, you have to use curly braces, okay? All right, so let's create the first key, okay? Let's save. So we are creating a user, okay? First name, okay, colon. So we create the key. So the key and single quote, the colon, and now we put the value. What is the value? The value is Bob. So now we have to put a comma and we create the next key value pair. Let's say it is the last name. All right, key, colon. So now the value, what is the value is ND. Okay, so comma, we are ready for the next key value pair. So which is age. For numbers, we don't have to put quote, okay? So now we have our dictionary. Let's print our dictionary. Print new dictionary. The first let's check the type. Let's print the type. All right. So you can see it's a class dictionary. So now we print our dictionary where the first name equal Bob, last name ND, and age of 25. Okay. So now we have our dictionary. How we get value from our dictionary? Okay, it's simple. Okay, we can print all the value. Just say new dic dot value, and we can print all the key as well. Okay, new dic dot keys. Okay, so now if you run it, as you can see, we have all the value, Bob, ND, and key, and 25. And also we have all the keys, first name, last name, and age. So now let's say we want to print the value for specific key. Okay, so let's say we want to print the name or the first name. Okay, let's print the first name. Okay, we have to say new dic, okay, square bracket. So we have to use the quote. It doesn't matter if it's single or double quote, and you put the key inside. Okay, first name equal. So now we have Bob printed. Okay, so what about if you want to print the age? All right, just change the key. We print the program and we got 25. Okay, so dictionary is very useful, especially if you are working in a user table. So you can use a dictionary to store the user data. Okay, so all these data type in Python are very useful and important to know when to use them to solve a particular problem. Okay, here you go. That was data type in Python and working with variable. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel so you will be notified anytime we post a new video. Okay, thank you for watching.